All right, for some of you guys that aren't watching our baseball videos, welcome back. Football, I can't believe how close it is. Less than 100 days away from kickoff. Got a countdown going. Gotta love it. Football. So here we go. We're doing our projected top 10. So as of right now, this is where we think that we should be shaking out our top 10 rankings. These are subject to change because training camps aren't even going on yet. But let's just start it off, Dustin. Who we got as our #1 overall player?
And this is the guys and gals.
And gals. Love the ladies.
AP, you got to put him #1. I mean, when you really look at who we have in the first round and who most experts have in the first round, there's at least some type of question mark pretty much around every single player. Obviously with AP, it's will that knee hold up? Well, last year it certainly did. Over 2,000 rushing yards. I mean, this guy is a freak of nature. He proved it again last year. At this point, you know, we just think he's got to be #1.
And before you get the hate, we know Vikings fans, AD for all day, but just get used to AP. A lot of people are calling him that now too. At #2, we got Arian Foster. Sad day because he's normally our #1 guy, but he did have somewhat of a down season. With that said, he had 17 touchdowns, plays behind that great zone blocking offensive line. Great offense. He's certainly going to find the chance to get in the end zone. It was really his receiving, his yards per catch that were down. First of all, he caught 40 balls, the same as Adrian Peterson. So keep that in mind when you're thinking great pass catcher, AP can't catch anything. But he was down to 5.4 yards a catch, down from 11 a year ago. So that was really where his numbers got hurt. With that said, if you got the #2 pick, you're really going to be happy with our boy Arian Foster.
And at #3, we still don't really mind the drop off there. It's not as bad as it is when you go to the 4th spot, but Doug Martin, you know, we really liked him coming into last year. He lived up to every bit of hype, which is kind of rare for rookie running backs, it seems. But this guy had over 1,900 total yards, 12 total touchdowns as a rookie. It was an amazing year for him. You know, a lot of those stats were from just a couple of games. So there's one of your question marks you got to worry about. Obviously, sophomore slump. You know, you kind of got to worry about that as well. But with that offense, with the amount of touches that Doug Martin's going to get, you know, at 3, we think you draft with confidence with Doug Martin.
All right, when you go to #4, even right before this video, we were doing some shuffling. We got Marshawn Lynch there. That's who we landed on. And the reason why we really like the offense, the addition of Percy Harvin certainly helps. Second half, Russell Wilson came into his own, and Lynch is going to be the bell cow. He's going to get a ton of carries. You know, last season he had 12 total touchdowns. He almost had 1,600 yards rushing itself. He's just, if you're going to be at #4, he's going to be the safest out of a lot of these other question marks, and we feel he's going to still have a very, very, very productive year.
At
That's
5
berries.
And it's a lot of berries. At 5, it's really hard all the way through the middle of the first round. You know, you really could make a debate for pretty much everyone, you know, from here on out that could be, you know, worthy of a 5th overall pick. But we have Jamal Charles. You know, after the injury in 2011, you know, a lot of question marks obviously coming into last year, but, you know, he silenced everyone with over 1,700 total yards. You know, only 6 total touchdowns. You're not going to get a ton of touchdowns from him, but every time he touches the ball, he could break one. So he's going to get enough touches on that offense. Not the best offense in the world, but he's the biggest part of that offense, so he should get plenty of touches and have another solid year if he can stay healthy.
All right, at #6, we have a guy that certainly was a disappointment coming off 20 touchdowns 2 years ago. You know, he didn't really do that great last year. He still did very good, though. It's LeSean McCoy. The reason why we got him at #6 is he's kind of the forgotten man. He is a stud running back, and with Chip Kelly's new offense, everyone thinks they're going to be throwing it all over and doing these gadget plays. The truth of the matter is his college backs always put up monster numbers. He's all about tempo and being quick. So we think McCoy's going to get, you know, almost a career year in touches. Should be catching the ball a lot, running a lot, finding the end zone a lot. McCoy, bounce back here.
At #7, and before we talk about, you know, who we have at #7, this is really kind of the time where you might start seeing Aaron Rodgers make an appearance or a quarterback. You know, we really have no problem, you know, drafting a quarterback in the first round in most years. But this year is special when you look at what happened last year with Luck and RG3 and Russell Wilson and Kaepernick, even Romo. You know, all 5 of those guys you're going to be able to get super late. And it's just the quarterback position is really so deep this year. We think you got to get your running back in the first round unless you're drafting Calvin, who we have at 9. But just a little preview there. Ray Rice is our guy at #7. You know, there's a couple things you got to worry about with Ray Rice. His touches were down, only 257 rushes last year. But he still finished with over 1,500 total yards. He still had double-digit total touchdowns. But you got to be a little bit worried about Pierce as well with how well he played in the playoffs. I'm sure everyone saw that. But Rice is still going to be their man. He's still going to get the majority of the carries. He's still on a decent offense. He's going to get those touchdowns.
Yeah, and he might even slip later than this in most leagues just because of the Pierce height. So keep that in mind. All right, our next guy, number 8, averaged 6 yards every time he had a carry and almost 11 yards every time he caught the ball. Crazy numbers when he was touching. That's C.J. Spiller. The reason why he's at number 8 for us is there's still, the Fred Jackson looming around there, and he's never really gotten the chance to get all of the touches. But you got to think, back in the day when it was Charles and Thomas Jones, Charles was a fantasy stud, even getting like 15 touches. Could be very similar for Spiller with the upside. This guy's got one of the highest ceilings in our projected first round, just because if he does get all the touches, he could have a monster year.
Very easily could have a monster year. At number 9, our only non-running back, Calvin Johnson. Like I was saying a minute ago, I mean, here's the deal. He did only have 5 touchdowns last year, but that was a fluke in our minds. We think he'll at least be much closer to double digits. It's not over like he normally is. But over 1,900 receiving yards. That's insane. This guy, they really mixed it up last year. One thing the Lions did, they really mixed it up to mix up the coverage, make sure that they can get the ball in Calvin's hands, and I think they'll be able to do that again this year. If you're going to draft, not a running back in the first round.
Just throw it up and he's catching
looking at Calvin.
He had 5 touchdowns last year. We think that's an anomaly. He was tackled on the one a bunch. Double-digit touchdowns should return in 2013. All right, rounding it out at number 10. We had a lot of debate, a lot of shuffling here as well. But we landed on Alfred Morris. And the reason why is we think RG3 is going to be ready to play week 1, which certainly is part of the reason why Alf had such a monster year. It's because you got to worry about RG3's legs. He was also one of the tops in rushing yards throughout the year. So he had a very solid year from start to finish. Was involved a little bit in the passing game, but he certainly can find the end zone. Alfred Morris, number 10 overall player right now.
So that is our projected top 10 as of right now. A lot can change. We're still in June right now, so keep that in mind.
Follow us on Twitter at Fantasy Advice. If you want to hate, go ahead and hate on Twitter.
Subscribe to us on YouTube. Nanko over here, Dustin over here. If you got any questions, visit our forums. Our army of experts.
They reply.
Is waiting there to answer.
They reply. And so do we. 10 toss and catch.